Yo, yo, yo. What is going on, team? This is Art, and today we will be doing Sunday Stock Talk. Had to close my little OBS software right there, but here we are. Let me alert the team, make sure we're all here, because I am excited. This market looks pretty interesting, to be honest, because there is quite a bit of contingency plans here. We either hold 420 or we dump. No in between. And so I'm a little curious as to how this market is going to play out for that reason. Really quick, let me just put up my screen here for Discord. And I will now plug in at everyone. Live for Stock Talk. Send tickers at hashtag ticker channel. Boom. All right. In the meantime, /ES. Really quick, let's look at futures. Futures down half a point, minus -0.4. This is a little interesting because, again, we were already talking about how this thing's going to ride up to the 200-day moving average. We're going to see this thing slide. Hopefully the market holds up. We'll see what happens, whatever. I think that this market maybe dumps down to the 417 level. This is mainly because I'm looking at this thing with the 20 SMA in mind on this daily chart. The only thing that kind of freaks me out a little bit, this crossover right here. This crossover right here on the daily chart is a little sketchy because, well, we're losing buying pressure, right? We're losing all of our buyers. People started selling off as they realize, hey, we have this overhead resistance. And I mean, if you look at the trend, we finally hit that top level based off of our, beginning of the year till about April. And so it's not a surprise that we saw heavy resistance at this level and why we didn't even remotely get close to popping above this channel. So what's next? I think that we see this market slide and touch this 20 SMA line. Depending on whether or not we actually hold, I'm not sure yet. But I am going to assume that we slice right through and probably touch the 50-day moving average, aka retesting 400 on S&P 500. I expect this week to be red overall, just as it's showing up here. I think that because of the way that SPY is setting up on this daily chart with the hour time frame, I think because of that, we're going to continue to see this thing downtrend. Look at how 20 SMA and 9 SMA are still falling. Notice how the MACD is still red. The RSI is showing a little oversold, but overall, this thing looks very, very red. Overall, I think that if we can get this market, again, to hold 20 SMA on the daily chart, we might see some sort of recovery, but I wouldn't be surprised if this thing dumped. Let's pull up our ticker channel. So I've got a few names in here now. Cool. And I'll get right to those in a second. Next, let me pull up NQ. NQ, NASDAQ. We've been trading futures a little bit more, so here's the NASDAQ. NASDAQ held above the channel. We're currently sitting on the 20 SMA, which is, again, why I think there's some sort of hope, why I think that we might end up holding just a little bit. But, again, this is purely, and I mean genuinely, purely dependent on if we hold this line right here at the 20-day moving average. Otherwise, we'll retest 13,000, and if we fall below, we'll see ourselves back at 12.3. Who knows? Maybe this thing turns into a giant H pattern. We don't know until this market, gives us something to look at. That said, I'm assuming right now that this turns into a head and shoulders. If we break below this 20 SMA, I think that we will slide. And names that I'm looking at are Amazon, Apple, your usual tech stocks, especially AMD and Nvidia, who normally get hit very hard when tech sells off. So let me pull up some tickers really quick. Let me see if we have any comments. No, we do not. We got some right here. Oscar, are you talking, bro? I can see your mic activity, but I can't hear you.
Showing, but I don't know why it keeps showing like I'm talking.
Oh, there you are, bro. How you doing, man?
What's up, man?
But really quick, we got Costco, Baba, Nvidia, and Palantir. So let me pull up cost. I'm honestly pretty short on cost as it sits right now, mainly because we still haven't broken that 560 mark. Look at this right here, 566 rejected, and we're heading back down. That said, though, we do have a crossover here on the daily chart. The only thing that I'm a little sketched out about, if we pull up this this hourly chart, we have a head and shoulders kind of setting up here. And so shoulder, head, potential shoulder right here. And this thing's crossed and wide open to the downside. We fell below 50 SMA. 9 and 20 are going to be following behind. We pinged reversals to the downside. Overall, I think Costco sells off. You look at Home Depot selling off. I think the majority of retail might see a bit of a pullback. I think that if we end up seeing, Target, Walmart, Home Depot, Costco, I think those are going to continue to drag the S&P 500 to the downside. Look at this right here for Walmart. Walmart had the gap on earnings and then fell right back below the 200-day moving average. I wouldn't be surprised if they slid just to touch this 9-day moving average. So what other requests do we have? Alibaba, B-A-B-A. Alibaba, I'm looking at in terms of potential age pattern. We have a small channel that we've been holding since about March at the low of 73. Bounced again at 78. I wouldn't be shocked if we bounce this level at 85, but if we don't, this thing will retest. Notice that it's taken forever to cross this MACD back up. And if you zoom in, you can see this thing's going back into the red. So you look at this thing and it's like, holy crap. I think BABA might turn into an H right here, and I think it might end up falling even more just because of the way that this thing's sitting. Let me just make sure I got. Okay, I do have audio on the live for YouTube. Perfect. So yeah, if we end up holding this channel, I wouldn't be shocked if we saw 100 again. But if we do end up breaking, I think again, if we break 88, this thing dumps. Simply put, 88, 87 mark takes us back down to 78. And I wouldn't be shocked if that happened because notice the 50-day moving average is crossing to the downside and we'll eventually have an SMA squeeze maybe in about 2 weeks. I think this thing slides. Things that I'm looking at for tomorrow, again, I am looking at taking short. I think that the market is in a very overheated spot. Notice the RSI was very overbought and we saw quite a sell-off. I think maybe Apple holds support here at this 170 mark, but overall I'm pretty short biased. What do we have? Nvidia. Yeah, so Nvidia is one of those names that, again, if I see NASDAQ start sliding, I will be taking Nvidia short options. Look at how massive this downtrend is on the daily chart. This thing also is looking to make a rounding top. Notice crossover. RSI is coming down. It's back into neutral from bullish. Overall, I think this thing touches back to 170, mainly because of the way that this thing is, again, rounding a top. I think Nvidia is hurt. AMD. So AMD is interesting because, again, it follows very closely to what you see with Nvidia. This thing is kind of trying to flag. It's somewhat holding on to the 20-day moving average, but notice right here, crossover on the MACD. The RSI is starting to fall. I think that if we see this thing fall below, actually, we'll call it, if it retests lows here of this candle in the daily chart, I wouldn't be shocked, again, if we touch that 50 SMA / this top channel at 88, 85, 87 area. I think this level right here will be a level of contingency. But again, I'm pretty short biased today. Palantir, PLTR. Palantir, I charted this thing last time. I still think it's very short. Last time I think it was, 7 days ago, it was back here. I said that will eventually probably touch the 50-day moving average. This thing H'd and headed lower, so I wouldn't be shocked if the next stop this thing had is 6.5. Open wide for MACD. This thing just doesn't look very strong. Overall, I would be very short biased with that one as well. Meta, Apple, Amazon, Tesla, NQ. Meta. M-E-T-A. Meta. So Meta, again, I think that this whole market, NQ especially, looked very weak. So I think, again, if NQ decides to dump and it's already down 0.5 point, I think that we're going to see things like Meta, Apple, Amazon just dump out. I think they're going to see those bleeding out a bit. I expect this thing to touch 154 probably in the next couple of days, really. During this week, I think we'll see a very hard squeeze to the downside, mainly because you look at this thing and you see this crossover right here on the MACD. You see the RSI quickly losing pressure. I think overall, with this thing falling back into the channel and testing the 50 SMA, I would not be shocked if we saw Meta just continue sliding. And again, probably end up touching this 155 mark. Apple, I think I already hit Apple. Tesla. Okay, so Tesla's interesting because this thing has a bull flag. Tesla is very interesting in the sense of this thing held onto 20 SMA, Bounce back above the 9. We're testing the 200-day moving average. If this thing gets above 200 moving average, which is the $900 price point, I think that we can maybe ride up to this 920 area again, maybe 940. And if it does, I think that will eventually break that bull flag that we're seeing here. Again, bull flag or cup and handle, whatever you want to call this thing, and we'll eventually see that $1,000 Tesla share again. I would not be shocked if we saw that, especially considering that this thing splits on the 25th. So this thing splits in a few days. So I think we might see that split rally. NQ, I'll pull up NQ again. NQ is interesting because, again, we're even testing a whole number level right now, 13,200. So you look at this thing, it's sitting right on top of the 200-day moving average, or on the 20-day moving average, and right on top of this channel. We have a crossover. RSI is losing a lot of pressure. I think this thing dumps. I really do. I think we'll retest 13,000 and probably like 12,800. I would not be shocked, and I'm going to be part of every last bit of that sell-off. Yeah, so that's what I'm looking at right now. In terms of just other stocks that I'm looking at JPM. So, JPM. So JP Morgan, I think, is interesting in that it is already crossing back down despite this huge the huge buying pressure that we saw recently. So notice how quickly this thing is tapering out. Notice how quickly the RSI is starting to jump out back into neutral. I wouldn't be shocked if we saw that 117 and then 115 and eventually again probably end up touching 110, which is the top of the previous channel. I think that with this with the way that this market is looking right now, I wouldn't be shocked if we saw a lot of bleeding. Notice that if you look at an hourly chart, we're sitting on the 200-day moving average. If this thing falls below, again, 115 is probably where we'll take profit on that. Wells Fargo, WFC. Wells Fargo is currently trying to break the 9-day moving average on the hourly chart. Notice that we're trying to cross over. RSI is fairly oversold, but again, depending on how the market reacts, we might take this thing back down to the 44.5 mark, which is the 200-day moving average. Put it on a daily chart, and actually Wells Fargo has been doing fairly decent, riding on top of the 9-day moving average. If it doesn't hold 9, I think we sell. I really do. So potential sell down to 44 and then down to 42. Overall, I think Wells looks pretty nasty right now as well. Ticker channel says BBBY. If you weren't in the short already, I would probably say you're too late. Bed Bath & Beyond is currently sitting at $9.60 in the after hours. This thing rode all the way up to $30. Slapped the resistance. Whoopsies. Slapped resistance and just failed. So the thing with Bed Bath & Beyond is that the CEO actually sold all of their shares, and that's why you see this massive sell-off. I wouldn't be shocked if we saw this thing go back down into the $4 range. Genuinely, I don't think BBBY is a good buy. I think if you're gonna short it, maybe, but I think it might be too late for that. Let's see. Okay. All right. Does anyone have any other tickers you'd like me to check out? CJ, I see you lurking, bro. What's up, man? What are you looking at, homie?
Yo, what's the deal? Some just mainly the same stocks you were pretty much covering. NQ, Apple, Amazon. Did you do Amazon already?
Yes, sir. I'll pull it up here. AMZN. Actually, I don't think I did. Amazon.
Yeah, so, obviously, nothing on this thing says go long, right?
Nope.
But yeah, I think we pulled back for the most part this week, so taking it easy. I do know that. Let me see really quick. Okay, so Thursday we do have jobless claims coming out. So normally market moves decently with that. And then I think we have durable goods on Wednesday, which market could move a little bit. So overall, there's no FOMC, so I think we should have pretty consistent direction this week for the most part. I don't think there's gonna be anything that really causes us to chop. Other than maybe Thursday, like people may react to jobless claims and just kind of like take the rest of the day off. But then we have pretty solid downtrend or uptrend this week. I think it's gonna be pretty consistent.
No, yeah, I think we'll definitely see a very directional week. Again, everything here, most daily charts are starting to cross down, and so I wouldn't be shocked if we saw a little bit of a pullback for probably the entire week, honestly. I think the setup right now for the majority of our commonly played stocks is to the downside, maybe with the exception of Tesla. But, if NQ is red, if ES is red, if everything else is starting to set up red, it's a short. If it looks like a short, smells like a short, breathes like a short, it's probably short. And so when you look at this thing in terms of setup, this thing looks great to the downside, and that's what I'm looking for. I want to make sure that everyone is understanding exactly why I think this thing is short, and because of that, why we're going to be taking positions in the stock that we're doing, or in the stocks. Oxy. So I was requested Occidental Petroleum. This is probably because of that massive buy that it had on Friday. It was up 10%. So you're telling me that oil just randomly bumps? It's a little interesting. I think that depending on how the market reacts to the sell-off that we're starting to have, and the way that the thing's setting up, I mean, I wouldn't be shocked if we saw petrol retest at a 75. Mainly because we are, again, starting to buy up. We're crossing over. You look at the RSI, it's extremely strong. And so when you see something like that, it just looks really strong. If I pull up USO, I can guarantee you it probably looks very similar. So USO already starting to cross up. If I look at Exxon, so XOM, Exxon is also starting to trend up higher. So what I would be considering if I were to take energy to the upside is play this crossover. We have a crossover. It's starting to open up into the green. Maybe we long oil this week. Who knows? Really, this thing's setting up pretty nicely. We have a little bit of a triangle, and if we break 97, we have a pretty straight shot to 100 and then 105. I'll keep this on my watch list. ExxonMobil. I think it looks pretty nice. Does anyone have any other tickers? Really quick, for the people who are tuning in, I do want to say that we are full for the 8-day intensive. The group has been filled up. We said we're taking 3 to 5 people, and we are booked. So that'll close up this time around, and CJ and I will, alert everyone when we decide to open the next one. Remember that the 8-day intensive is a very close, more intimate trading discipline, strategy, teaching. We want to make sure that everyone who joins the group is going to be seeing a better habit, a better trading strategy, a better, more professional way of trading. I want to make sure that everyone who's taking the 8-day intensive does understand why they're taking trades, why they're exiting, why they might have to take a loss, and how to actually take a loss. Because it's one thing to just lose on a position, but it's another thing to understand why it's the best move. Sometimes you just need to cut a position because you're no longer right. I need to make sure that everyone understands exactly why they might have to have a losing strategy. When it comes to losing on a position, you need to make sure that you are very set as to the rule set. That potential of losing more than what you need to is something that I want to completely avoid with this small group of traders. We're trying to teach them discipline, strategy, and of course, we want to make you guys into traders who will become self-sufficient. We want to make sure that everyone here is becoming a person of discipline. So the group, I will be announcing it as well tomorrow, is completely booked. I appreciate everyone who joined and who is taking the time to learn. Those who are in the group, obviously I will be sending you guys the homework, and I can't wait to meet with you guys on Tuesday. That said, this market, I swear, looks so great short. I'm so excited. CJ, thoughts, bro? I mean, look at NQ. Tell me this thing doesn't dump, especially below this 13,200. We're really only holding on to it because of the 20-day moving average, and because of that, I think any remotely small dump below it is going to trigger an avalanche sell-off.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I think we maybe pop just a bit, to kind of retest maybe 13,250, maybe 13,300 max, and then we just completely slide, and that could definitely happen even overnight to where when we wake up we just open up shorts and let it ride. One side note too, I was looking at some of the news, so I think the reason for Oxy The reason why they had that 10% jump that day, because Warren Buffett got approved to be able to buy more than half of their, half of the company basically. So that's why
Wow.
so that's why we see a spike in Oxy and not really the other oil companies. And don't get me wrong, there could be a sympathy play, to where, hey, other companies like, well, hey, if Warren Buffett's doing this, then maybe like other companies are following. But that's the reason why they had that 10% jump, because he just got approved to be able to buy. I think it didn't say 50%, but it said more than half of the company. So
Controlling stake.
yeah, that man's that boy swinging for the fences. So definitely
Absolutely.
interesting. Keep that on watch this week. Yeah, man, let's run it.
Yeah. So, does anyone have any questions for me as to trading? I know Naz just joined, but does anyone have any questions as to stocks to look at for you, or any just general trading questions? I mean, this is a pretty short and sweet session so far, but I mean, I think we've set a pretty decent game plan. I mean, genuinely, it's a pretty straightforward game plan this week. I think this market looks very short, and I think that if we play our cards correctly, I mean, we could totally catch 400 points just to the downside. And if we do that, I mean, who knows? Maybe it's another potential six-figure week, right?
Run it, bro.
I'll wait. I'll give it a little bit for trading questions, and yeah. CJ, do you have any questions that you've been receiving? I know you've had a few messages about whether it be the 8-day intensive or just like trading questions. You don't have to name drop people.
Yeah, of course. But no, I mean, no, I think everything's pretty much, good to go. I think it's just a matter of, us getting Tuesday rocking. I'm excited to see how everybody's going to come out as much better traders. You know what I mean? And obviously, shorter time frame. We're talking, some of the obviously members, and they understand it. They get it. Like, hey, instead of me bumping my head for the next 8 months, what if I can learn the lessons, right, in the next 8 days, and then save myself literally 7 months of headache and losses, to where now I can just now stack and be profitable, and make 10 times what I invested into my cell phone. So definitely some good stuff. But yeah, man, like I said, as far as the market goes, I'm with you. Pretty short bias. I think there's going to be a short to pop week. Me and Nas kind of started seeing that. I think that was Friday or Thursday, where you can't just go short. You got to short the pop. So that's probably going to be the strat going into this week. And yeah, man.
Yeah, that's definitely something that I'm going to be looking out for, bro.
Keep it short.
Yeah, something I'm looking out for is like especially that is that we are currently going to be opening down 0.5%. I'm not a huge fan of when we open down. I'd rather us open fairly neutral or maybe even just a little red, but we're opening down, and that definitely makes it a little difficult in terms of when you start playing the market in the morning, because people like to buy, but sometimes they don't. And so it does definitely add an extra variable into our trading, and that's why, again, we have specific strategies that we implement to make sure that we mitigate risk when that kind of thing happens. That's something that we cover. One of the main things as well that we want to do for the people who are in the 8-day intensive is make sure that you're able to, obviously, we want you to be able to trade, but if you want to take the funded route, for you to be able to qualify, and that's something that's very important to us. We want to make sure that you're able to earn funding when it comes to your trading, because at the end of the day, if you're able to pass the exam, we did a good job. And so futures trading, I think, has been very lucrative recently, and because of that, I want to make sure that I start teaching everyone strategies for futures. As for masterclass, I've been updating that. I've been I've been editing videos, and I'm about to push out an update that has more information as to futures trading, because that is also something that I've been doing a lot more. I've been logging pretty much every bit of my journey on that, and so I want to make sure that everyone understands, here's how I trade my futures. And there are times where I take futures over options, or I take options over futures, and I want to make sure that you're also able to decipher as a trader what tool is the best for a given moment, because sometimes options are just the simply better play. You get that parabolic move, and that's where you land that 50%, 60% gain. But sometimes in a choppy day, it might be better to just catch a couple of points trading futures. I want to make sure that everyone who's in the 8-day intensive definitely understands how to leverage their ability to trade futures as well.
When does that masterclass update drop?
Masterclass update drops on Friday. Pretty much as soon as September begins, masterclass updates with futures information.
Cool.
Because I want to make sure that everyone who is either in the 8-day intensive or the masterclass does understand why I've been trading futures and how to trade futures. And as for the 8-day intensive people, I want to make sure that those people can very easily qualify. Let's see, Netflix. Netflix is kind of an interesting case because it has the massive gap off of that huge earnings miss, but the market's starting to turn down and it's crossing over on the daily chart. I wouldn't be shocked if Netflix fell back down into the low 200s. I'm going to be honest. I don't think this thing's going to pop anytime soon. And considering how quickly the 200-day moving average is dumping down, I wouldn't be shocked that Netflix continues selling. Can I look at... That's a name I haven't looked at in a while. Sure. Let's see, where is it? Shop. Okay, so Shop's interesting considering how much this thing is sold off. It's been in a massive downtrend. This thing's basically the equivalent of being about $340 from when it used to be, $1,700 per share. That in mind, I think this thing probably continues to sell off. Notice the crossover here on the MACD opening up. RSI is shooting to the downside. We have until $30 for this thing to bounce, and I think at that point it becomes a new downtrend. And if we break below here, I don't know how much lower it can go. I really don't. This thing bottomed out at 29, so I wouldn't be shocked if 30 would be the bottom, at least temporarily. Any other questions that you received, though, CJ? I'm pretty sure you had something about how you've been changing your risk management.
Oh no, yeah, I'm saving that heat for the 8-day, man.
Hey,
I don't
okay.
want to give out the juice.
I got you, bro. I got you.
On that one, bro. Because I'm telling you, it's literally a mindset shift. It's a perspective shift, and at the end of the day, it's a habit shift. You know what I mean? So I even text you. I know a few things, and I don't want to drop too much of the info, but just like I said, that accountability piece. I don't know if you saw the text, like, yo, I think I want to implement like a buddy system. As well, to where it's like it helps everybody stay, not everybody, but it helps the members in the group stay accountable to the rule sets that we put in place. That's definitely a huge thing that helped myself. I know it's helped Oscar. I know it helped Nat. I know it helps you too. So being able to implement that into the community is definitely gonna be pretty dope. And I do know we are going to be making some changes to the Discord. I know we kind of talked about that too. So I'm definitely excited to be able to provide more value to people at the end of the day. Like that's what it's all about.
Yeah, I mean, we're two stock talks in, and we're going to go crazy, man. I plan on providing a ton of value for the group, and I want to make sure that everyone here is taken care of. I want to make sure that I am being a great coach at the end of the day.
Yes, sir. It's going to happen, bro. So I think we're ready, man. Let's kill it.
But yeah, as for the stock talk, I mean, if I wasn't so biased short, I'm sure this would be a lot longer of a session, but genuinely, I mean, everything just looks like it's going to continue heading lower. So I think I might just wrap this thing up here because really, I mean, there's not much else I can really speak on. I appreciate everyone for tuning in here on this beautiful Sunday night. As for the people who are in the 8-day intensive, I will be messaging you guys with your transcripts on Tuesday morning, and I will obviously be highlighting where you should be for your homework. That said, if you haven't already sent that to me, I know that some of you guys are in here watching. Please send me your transcripts as soon as possible so I can start looking at your trading habits. That said, everyone who's tuned in here on this Sunday night, I appreciate you all for tuning in. As usual, again, you guys are amazing. Just drop my water. That said, I will see you guys tomorrow in the morning for the Artstrading live. We're going to be trading short, probably. We'll see what happens. Who knows? But I'm excited. Let's make some money, and I'll see you guys then.